Hey there, Tolkien fanatics, welcome back. So this video is going to get added onto my recap of the event. I was thinking about trying to do some video of the boards and stuff at the event, and I may, still do that. So this may segue right into me going, hey, look, here's some boards from the event, or this may segue right into me doing a recap of the event. Just depends on time. Like I said in my video from yesterday, I had to do, well, not yesterday, I don't know when I'm going to get this out, to be completely honest, but to my video that I did discussing the event, I am providing 4 boards for the event, so I'm going to have to worry about getting those set up and then kind of be like, hey, you guys need to be careful with these, I need to keep these good, not being overly protective, but a little bit protective, because I still need those boards to be useful here in June, because for my own event. But this is a look at my army, like I said I was going to give you guys. So forgive me, I am freehanding this with my camera. So if it's a little shaky, I apologize. But this is my 54 unit Lurtz's Scouts army. There's Lurtz himself with his hero, Ugluk, Maher, and then just this two-handed guy is the captain. He comes with the Captain Scout pack. I figured he'd be a nice change, a good way to look and really quickly see that, oh yeah, he's the hero, because as you can see behind him, all the rest of the sword guys just have one-handed weapons, so nothing crazy going on there. So I actually ran out of scouts, and for this list, if you remember, I have 1 scout without a shield. Excuse me, damn, I'm sorry guys. But as you can see, I've got these 2 lovely models carrying Merry and Pippin, and I'm going to be using this one as my unshielded one, so this guy's going to have a shield. But those are from the Breaking of the Fellowship box, and then these next 3 guys are all metal Uruk scouts from that box as well. I really like this one. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit on him. Yeah, I really liked this model. His face is really cool. Just the pose is really dynamic compared to the rest of them. Even this one here, it's kind of got the shield up, but this one's really dynamic with the shield like right there in the face to be like blocking an arrow or something from Legolas as it's coming in. So it looks really cool. That's just my personal thought on it. And then I got my 2 drummers. I have 2 drums here. One of these isn't included, so I can just, but like I said, I had thought originally of putting 2 drums until I realized I was making my video for Weapons and War Gear. Oh hey, drums are 12-inch range. I don't really need 2 of them then. So I'd already started painting them. I figured I might as well finish. But then you can see the rest of the guys here. Just some sword and board guys mixed in with some sword and nothing guys. All of the guys have shields, like I said, except for the one, if you remember from looking at my list. And then I've got it just kind of mixed in the back. You can see the paints and stuff in the background from my hobby table, what I was looking at there when I started. So just a little bit of the guys. I thought about trying to maybe do some white hands on, this is weird, trying to grab a model while looking through a camera lens. Thought about trying to do some white hand logos and stuff on these shields, but I can't remember from the movie if they had them on those shields specifically, or if they were only on the shields when they went to attack Helm's Deep in the 2 towers. So I'm not too worried about it. Maybe down the road I'll do it. I'm just kind of out of time with a time crunch, having to do other projects, other adult things like taking care of my house. So that kind of stuff got in my way, unfortunately. There's my archers here on the end, and then of course you guys were already looking at those banners before. I did freehand these banners for the white hand, so some of them look okay, some of them look like crap. Stand still, you, while I switch. And then like some of them, oh, I'll just fall over then. He's kind of sticky. I just did the basing a little bit ago. You can see I kind of got to trim away this extra paint that pooled up while I was letting it dry. That's not a big deal. But yeah, some of them, I didn't even try and put one on the back of this one just because of all the waves that you can see. And this one didn't turn out too bad, just that one finger there. Unfortunately, the paintbrush got away. And actually, that's kind of just how the model is molded. If you can, I don't know how well you guys can see that. But just the waves in it kind of make it difficult. Stand up, you useless junk. But yeah, I've had 1 practice game with this. I wish I had gotten a few more in. Unfortunately, just because of time restraints and everything and local players being busy and stuff, I've only been able to get the one game in. It was a good game, good practice. My theory about the movement worked out really well. So I'm looking forward to trying this out, and I'll be back letting you guys know how it went. So I'll see you in a second here. Or I'll see you with some boards. Hey there, Tolkien Fanatics. So, unfortunately, this part of the video, I'm going to have to tell you I lied and did not get you any content from the event itself. So, I'm just going to take a few minutes and talk about the event, go through the 3 rounds I played, and just give you my overall impressions of it. So, I do want to start off by, again, apologizing that I know I said in my other video, or the earlier part of this video, when I showed you my army that I was going to try and get you some photos of the boards and stuff. I forgot my video camera at home. Of course, I ended up getting kind of screwed over by work. I was planning to drive out Friday afternoon after work and drive up to the Gainesville, Virginia area, which is where the event was. And I'm supposed to get off at 2:30, and they called a 2:30 meeting at 2:25. So you can probably guess that I was more than a little ticked off about that. That ran for 45 minutes, and then I got home about an hour after I was supposed to. And it was about, honestly, the time I was supposed to be leaving. If everything had worked out, my goal was to leave work at 2:30, be home by 3, and on the road no later than 3:30, 3:45. So as it was, I got home at 3:30, 3:45. And that's basically why I ended up forgetting my camera, as I was trying to rush things and get the heck out. It didn't matter. I ended up getting into the Gainesville, Virginia area about 12:30 that night. I didn't go to bed till about 2:30. I got a whopping like 5 hours of sleep before I went to the event. But you guys don't care about my misery and woes, so thanks for letting me air my grievances and wrongdoings when it comes to travel arrangements. So let's talk about the event. So the event was in a clubhouse owned by the HOA that Robert Loder is part of. His wife is actually the HOA manager, so she was able to get us the clubhouse for free, which was great because our entry fee all went to great prizes, and Robert brought the house when it came to prizes, giveaways, and just everything in general. He had some amazingly awesome cups that he did. I think he did some stencil engraving. I don't know if he did it himself or he got someone to do it, but he bought some cups that he got engraved for first, second, third, and best sportsman. Then he built 14 dice boxes, and these things were big. You know, most dice boxes you see are like maybe 6x6, if that. I mean, these things were huge. I think they were about 12x12 or somewhere in that range. I don't have one, unfortunately, but he did raffle off 10 of them, and I was actually hoping to win one, just because of the fact that they were very sturdy. A lot of dice boxes are usually like 3D printed stuff, or like I said, thin little boards, or they just don't hold up very well. Or they're so tiny, like the 3D printed one I've got is so tiny that you roll like more than 3 dice and they go everywhere. They don't stay in the box. But these boxes were huge. I mean, they were about, I want to say maybe 3 to 4 inches tall, if not more, and a good 1.5 inches thick. And then he went ahead and put a plexiglass bottom on them, and in the inside of it was the wounds chart. So, I mean, a lot of people, they're like, I can't memorize the wounds chart. Well, you don't really have to. There's a formula you can use. I mean, it's not too hard to remember, I think, personally, but I'm very good with numbers, so I don't want to, like, say, oh, it's easy to remember. Why can't you remember it? Oh, you're a fool. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm just good with numbers naturally. It's in my job, so I can look at it and realize there's a pattern to it. If you look at it, you can figure it out. But for those who are more adept at just looking at the book, this was perfect because you not only had a place to roll, but you also be like, okay, let's look at this real quick. So newer players too, as well, had a chance to be able to just look at that without having to, like, is this guy who's telling me that a strength 3 on defense 6, wounds on a 6, is he telling me the truth without having to go and look in your book and be right there? It's right there in the dice box. So I thought that was a brilliant piece of work done there by Robert. And like I said, he raffled off 10 of the 14 boxes he built. Ooh, excuse me, burped a little there. Dang, water's coming back up. So he had that. He had an audiobook for The Hobbit on CD, which I actually won in the raffle, which is great. So I ended up spending 3 of the 6-hour drive home listening to The Hobbit. I definitely plan to listen to more of it.
when I make my next travel trip. Probably when I go to New Jersey here in a few weeks, which I'll make another video for a journey vlog. What else did he have? I'm just trying to think. He raffled off a bunch of terrain, extra terrain he has. He's been playing tabletop gaming for like 30, 40 years, he said. So he's been doing it since, before my age. I'm hitting that dirty 30 this year, frickin' unfortunately. But hey, whatever. Half my life's over, half my life begins. There we go. Let's go. So he had those. What else did he have? He had a bunch of good stuff. Oh, some nice little like shot glass type stuff. He just made these. They were like ivory, and they were different colors. So like ivory color, black opal, swirl pattern, kind of like you would see in like a chocolate vanilla marble cake. And then he had a nice piece of cork on the bottom that he engraved with the logo for the event as well as the event and the date. It was cool. It was really great. I mean, I can't talk it up enough. He had a lot of good stuff to give away. And then he also had a pair of replica, I think they're Tariel swords, to raffle off as a big prize. So let's just say I won that. I'm just going to go with that. I won the big swords. Yay! Never won a big raffle prize ever in my life before. So this was the first time, and I'm not going to lie, I kind of did a little dance and a jig and all that kind of stuff when my name was called. Everybody there is probably thinking, who the hell is this weird-ass mofo? And I'm just sitting there thinking, yay, I got myself some swords. So I plan to get those up in the future and maybe include them to show you guys when I do like a walk around my hobby room. That's a video I thought about doing in the future, is a walk around my hobby room, show you how I got my stuff set up. But to the event itself, because that's what you guys really care about. So I apologize for lying, or not lying, just kind of shooting the shit here for the last few minutes. But, so 3-round event. The first round was capture and control. I challenged Joshua Parrish, because him and I have not played before. Go check out my Community Connections video I did with him and Richie. It was a 2-part event, or 2-part video. It was really great. We had like almost a 4-hour conversation between the two of us, and so I've never played before against him. And I thought I'd go ahead and give it a shot and let him, get it in, see how good Josh really is. And let's just say he is. He's very good. He curb stomped me. Now, I'm not going to lie, his army was probably a perfect foil to mine. Iron Hills, he was playing Iron Hills, which was really airborne acclaimed with the new Dane model. So he had the new Dane, and then Dwalin and Glowin. For his, he had 3 heroes. Those are 3 heroes, which I thought was great. Those are 3, kick-ass heroes in my opinion. You've got Dane, who, even though he's not as good as the one with the pig from Iron Hills, he's still getting +1 to wound with strength 4. Dwalin can get you 4 attacks, so if you can get a surround or a trap, you got a guy that's got the ability to go strength 5 with 4 attacks. That's pretty good. I'm pretty sure he's strength 5. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, I'm pretty dang sure he's strength 5. And then you got Glowin in there, who's basically doing like, Dane. He's 3 attacks with +1 to wound in Burley. So I think it was a really great job of him using those 3 heroes. And then he spammed Iron Hills Warriors from there. So he actually had a very good model count. At 800 points, he had 39 models. He had 2 Goat Riders in there as well. But he also, he 3D printed himself some swords and was able to kit bash them onto a number of his warriors. So doing that, it allowed him to save about 12 to 16 points, I think he said, which gave him the ability to add on a warrior or 2. And I think that's a really smart idea if you can do it. I know the Iron Hills models are pretty cool, but they all come with sword and shield. So if you're trying to not give them, I'm sorry, not sword and shield, spear and shield. So if you're trying to not give them spears, it can be hard to remember who doesn't have it. So I thought that was a really cool idea to do, to just get something different looking, because they looked really good on there, and then also save yourself some points if you don't want to give everybody spears, which you probably don't really need to. So onto the army itself. He had 39 models. I had 54. We're both strength 4. We're both fight 4. The big advantage he had over me is his heroes were much more deadlier than mine. All of them having a base of 3 attacks, and in Dwalin's case, if he fights with 2 axes, it goes up to 4. Where my best hero was Lurtz. And being fight 5 across the board with all my heroes, and only having 2 of them that could strike, that being... Actually, no, I think only one of them can strike. I don't think Ugluck can strike. I can't remember. It's pretty bad. I shouldn't know this since I just played in the army, but I never even really called a heroic strike the entire event. I'm not even going to lie. I called no heroic strikes. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. To remember who's got strike and who doesn't. So, Maher has March and Strength. And then, okay, Ugluck does have strike. So, Ugluck and Lurtz could both strike. But I never struck in the entire game. in the entire tournament. I'll just be honest. So it was capture control. He did really good. We were playing on the 4-Nos board that I brought. He got very good rolls. I would say, actually, it wasn't even really good rolls. It was just very good deployment for him. They played the entire river that I include on that board as shallow terrain, which is half movement. So the way we usually play it is that middle piece is actually a ford where it's got a little bit of island. So you can move there normally. Well, that kind of threw my movement off because of the fact that I'm expecting to be able to run my 8-inch guys through there. And he's just like, well, I move slow anyway, so I'll just deploy here. And it was really good. He built a very strong L-shaped wall and pretty much deployed right on the center line and dared me to come at him. And my first turn, I was really spread out, but with no way to truly envelop him. So I spent one turn moving Lurtz around the side, but probably did that a little too early, which allowed him to counter it and form his L, the short line of the L. Then on the other side, I had Maher and his warband trying to run around the board to get to the backside and do some trapping. I think I should have probably called a march a turn earlier. I ended up spending one of his 2 points of might on a march in order to get around the backside. Unfortunately, by the time I finally got into combat, because I had this large terrain piece in the middle, I was able to grab that objective over there and securely keep him away because he was never going to get close to it. But that's only one objective out of 5. There was one point in the game where I had 3 of the objectives to his 2, and at the end of that turn of movement, it actually ended up being, contested. So had the game ended right then and there, it would have been 6-2 in victory points for captured objectives, me having 3, he having 1, the 5th being contested. And at that point of the game, this is about the 5th or 6th turn, it would have been a 6-4 win for myself because he had broken me and he had killed my leader. Lurtz was a little punk. I'll just put it that way. I went in there and did heroic combat with him in my first turn of combats so I could take out his 2, goat riders. I figure if I can take out his 2 goat riders right here, right now with Lurtz, then I'm taking away basically his mobility, which is going to really help me out throughout the rest of the game because his goats move the same distance as my warriors, so I'll be able to have my warriors, 8 inches, so I'll be able to have a much larger advantage over him. Didn't happen. I called a heroic combat, was against 2 guys. He threw 2 dice, got a 6. I threw 3 dice, got a 4 high. Got a reroll with a banner, still had a 4. Had to burn my other 2 points of might. Just because of the fact that Lurtz's defense 6, I didn't want 2 strike because he was a sword and shield guy, or a sword and spear guy, so he was striking me with 2 attacks, and I was like, I'm not going to give up. I mean, maybe I should have, because in hindsight, thinking about it, letting the leader get wounded is 1 victory point, and saving those 2 points of might may have been very well worth it. Unfortunately, I wasn't thinking clearly. I was just thinking, shit, this is my leader. I need to not let him get wounded. I don't want to give up VPs this early on in the game because I knew I wasn't going to get any wounds on Dane. I just knew that was not a VP I was going to get. Like I said, hindsight is, 20/20 vision. We won't say 20/20 like the year, but hindsight's 20/20, and I should have probably not spent those points of might because I was then pretty much out of might on that side. I had Ugluk and my captain pushing the middle against Dwalin and Glowin, and like I said, Maher running around the backside. Long story short, it turned into a slaughterfest. He broke me quite easily, and then it took a turn or 2 for the game to end. Actually, no, that's a game that ends on a quarter, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it ends on a quarter, and I was thinking it was one of the ones where you break and then start rolling, but that's Lords of Battle, not capturing control. It might be domination too. Either way, it didn't end. He ended up quartering me, and the game did end. He controlled 4 objectives. No, 3 objectives. 3 objectives. He had broken me, and he had killed my leader. Wounded my leader, which was enough to give him 8 VPs just for that. I had 1 objective, and we had a bonus VP each for being fully painted. That was a cool thing that Robert did. he asked me about it because it's something I'm doing for Ringo South here in a couple weeks. If you have a fully painted army, I'm giving you a bonus VP. The difference is my bonus VP does not count to your overall score. So if you get a 7-3 win, that's a major victory, and that's it. Then you add the bonus VP after that. It's not going to change. Like, you get 7-3, but you're not fully painted, and your opponent is. Now he gets the extra VP, so it's 7-4, and it goes from major to minor because that's how we do our scoring. Again, I'll say this: the guidebook is just that, a guide, and I don't like their scoring in that. I've heard people say the old scoring. There was no old scoring, if I remember correctly. I don't think the old rule book had a scoring guide. It was something that just came up from, I believe, Nova, and was then taken and done with as pleased by different groups. So I've seen some where they do 1-3, if you have a difference of like 3 or more VPs, then you have a major. So we usually do 4 or more VP differential is a major, and that's how we'll probably keep it. I am going to an event, like I said, in Atlantic City, where they're doing the guidebook's way of scoring, and I'll see what I think about that just based off of how my own scores go. I'm not a world beater. I don't win big games 12-0, 10-2, stuff like that. Most of my games are usually close. It's not because I have bad tactics or anything, tooting my own horn here. It's just that my dice, when I throw 4 dice with Lurch trying to kill one guy, who I should easily be able to do, I roll a 4 high. It's a dice game. I don't care what people say. At the end of the day, odds and statistics are always going to bite you in the butt no matter what the hell you do. So, Josh played it perfectly, though, I thought. He built his wall, and then he executed his plan, which was to basically just slowly push me back, and that's what he did. So kudos to you, Josh. That was a great game. Thanks for taking my challenge up. I wanted to see how good of a player you were, and I will say you are very good. He actually was on the top table at the very end of the event, pushing to win it all. And I will let him talk about that. He has agreed, along with Richie, to speak with me about their adventures at of Wolves and Shattered Shields. So look forward to hearing from those guys in the future. So moving on, my second round, crazy as it sounds, I was playing against Joseph Precise. And Joe brought the exact same army as me. Yes. I was playing against a mirror image of Lurch's scouts. There were a few differences where I had taken only 4 heroes, Lurch, Mahur, Ugluk, and a captain. He had opted to take an extra captain with 2-handed weapon. So he had a captain with a shield and a captain with a 2-handed weapon. This was Assassination. And Assassination is one where you designate one of their heroes to be killed other than the leader with one of your heroes other than your leader. So unfortunately, Joe was not very familiar with the scenario. The guy he chose to kill was, of course, who was my captain. Yeah, he chose to kill my captain. And he chose Lurtz. So after he did that with Lurtz, he's like, yeah, I'm just going to put all my cards on the table here, because I deployed my captain up on a hill, and he just dropped Lurtz in front of him. And he went in there, and he's like, yeah, you see what I'm doing here. And I was like, it took me, because he said it in the first turn, and I'm like, oh, okay, he must be just trying to kill him. Maybe he's just going for five VPs over 7. Because it's one of those ones where if you wound the target you're trying to kill with your non-assassin, which means your hero is your assassin. So if you wound him with the non-assassin, it's 1 VP. If you wound him with the assassin, it's 3. If you kill him, but the final blow is not dealt by the assassin, then it's 5. And if you kill him and the final wound is dealt by the assassin, it's 7. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, maybe he's just going for 7 VPs here. That's weird. So he got right up in the captain's face, knocked him down with the shield throw that Lurtz could do, which of course traps him, then charged in. And at that point, I was like, wait a minute, Joe, you don't have Lurtz as your assassin, do you? He's like, well, yeah. I thought that was kind of obvious when I said it. I said, no, to me, I was like, no, because this scenario, you can't use your leader as your assassin. He's like, oh, shit, really? I was like, yeah. So we pulled the book out, and he looked at it, he said, oh, well, damn. I was like, well, I mean, I'm sorry, but we can't redeploy at this point because we're already into halfway through the combat phase of the first round. There's no way to go back and change 30 minutes of game time at that point. between getting to the table, setting up, and deploying. So, unfortunately for him, he lost out on 2 VPs. Fortunately for him, he did one turn kill my captain, which gave him the 5 VPs. I'm not going to go into any deep, big hash. My goal was to kill his two-handed captain with Mahur, because of course Mahur is definitely going to be the best killer I have outside of alerts. But like I said, you can't use alerts. So Mahur having 3 attacks is who I chose as my assassin, and I went after his two-handed captain. It was a great game. It was a lot of slugfest. I mean, I pull 3 models, he pulled 3 models. I pull 2 models, he pulled 4 models. And then next turn, I pull 5 models, he pulled 1 model. So it just kind of switched back and forth to the point where I used Mahur, Ugluk, Mahur and Ugluk really, really well to just push the middle and finally work my way to his leader. Or not his leader, I'm sorry, to the captain I was trying to kill. And I actually jumped a few guys off of the hill and surrounded him. So I was able to take out a banner and that captain in the same turn, which really helped turn the tide for me in the middle and allow me to break him. Because even though I had more models, I just rolled complete garbage like usual. And he was, killing for every 2 models. We'll say for every 3 models of his I killed, he was killing about 5 of mine. So that's kind of what the ratio was there until the very last turn, when because a lot of my focus was using heroic combat with Ugluk, so I could go in and kill an extra guy with Mahur, so I could make sure that I was killing 3 or 4 guys a turn, so I could matriculate those 2 heroes towards this captain. And then by the final turn, so instead of putting like Mahur against 2 or 3 guys a turn, or Ugluk against 2 or 3 guys a turn, I was just pitting them like one-on-one, and then doing the good old slingshot technique where I'd slingshot Mahur or Ugluk into the combat with Mahur, and then Mahur I'd slingshot around and just slowly moved up the middle, let's just put it that way, until I killed him. And after that, I was able to use my big heroes to do work like I'm supposed to. I mean, it was basically just a bunch of Urkai kicking each other in the shins and actually doing some damage because we were both scouts, being strength 4, defense 4. The biggest thing for me that helped me break him was the fact that he didn't give all his guys shields. So, you remember my list, I gave shields to everybody except for my archers. He played it straight up WYSIWYG, so if there was a guy with just a sword, he had no shield. So in those situations where I was winning, I was able to kill those probably about 60% of the time. I mean, it should be a 50-50, being 4 up to wound, strength of 4, defensive 4, but I was killing about 60 to 66% of the time. So about 2/3 of the time, I went up against one of those guys in 1v1 combat, and one I was killing, which was very good for me, especially in that last turn. So like I said, we broke each other the same turn. I killed his guy on the last turn, in that same turn, with my assassin, and then neither of us was able to wound each other's leaders, thankfully. And then we rolled to see if the game ended, and because that is one where once you are broken, you roll to see if the game ends, and it did. He let me roll it because I had the priority, and I rolled a 2, so the game ended. And like I said, we were both broken. Neither of us touched the enemy's leader, and I killed my target with my assassin, which gave me 7. He killed his target but not with his assassin, which gave him 5. We both were painted, so that gave us 8-6, and then neither of us touched the enemy's leader, so it was a 8-6. Oh, I'm sorry. Broken also counts, I think, for 1. So we both got that as well. So 9-7 basically was the round, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I'm looking at the sheet right now, trying to do the math in my head. 1. Neither of us wounded each other's leader. 5-7, 7-5. Shoot, where is it at? 7-5. No leader wounds. 8-6. 9-7. Yeah, so pretty good game, very tight game. I mean, very evenly matched game because it's the same army. So that was round 2. Moving on to the final round, and I'll try and wrap this up. I know this video is getting long between my video at the beginning where I showed my army that I shot a day or 2 before, and now this chat session. I do apologize also. I want to take the moment and apologize here. I didn't have a chance to get any very good videos, or not videos, but photos. My wife came with me, but Tracy, but she was doing other stuff. She was working on her own hobby stuff, and I didn't really want to like impose on her. I was just happy she came with me to drive because I was beat that day, and I wasn't going to be able to make it back to the hotel. Um, but I'll have more photos for Ringo South here in June because she'll help me out with that and actually take photos. So anyway, round 3, I played against Mr. John McConnell from up there as well in Virginia, and John played Numenor. And it was pure Numenor, which was really cool to see because I just finished painting my Numenor army, and I'm in the midst of converting my Elendil mounted. And so he had Elendil mounted, of course, a Isildur, and then a captain mounted and kitted out. And then he had a mix of sword and shield guys, spear and shield, and then some bowmen, and then some of the bowmen he gave spears. So it was pretty cool. I liked it. It was to the death was the scenario. I had 54 models to his. I want to say he had 39 or 41, something like that. A good amount of models as well. And I was like, okay, this is going to be another tough one. So we deployed. It's 12-inch deployment. So we kind of just moved up at each other. I sounded my drum because I wanted to kind of push the middle because where it was at, I figured I could get to the middle and maybe draw him in a little bit and surround him. But John's too smart for that, so I really didn't have much option but to slowly work towards him, have him slowly work towards me. Because, again, I was back on the dang Fornos board. So I had that river in the middle, the large piece of terrain on the left, and then another smaller but still good-sized piece of terrain in the upper right where he had his line. It would have taken me 2 turns to circle around that, and in that time he could have just moved forward and completely crushed my center line, which I knew would have been a mistake, as I learned from going against Josh in the first round. So I just kind of slowly matriculated my entire force forward, swapped some bow shots with him every turn. I mean, I had 10 shots. He had about that much as well, maybe a couple more. I think he was pretty much a third of his army had bows. So I think, like I said, I think he had 40 to 41 models total. So minus 3 heroes is anywhere from 37, 38. So he had 12 to 13 bows. Maybe a few less models, maybe a few more bows. I can't remember exactly. But we swapped some shots. He picked off a couple warriors here and there. I was glad he wasn't going for my bowman because even though my bowman didn't do anything in the first turn, the second turn I was able to get 3 guys, which was really critical because by that point he'd actually killed 5 of mine just in shooting, which was crazy seeing as he's shooting strength 2 bows against my defense 5 guys because he wasn't targeting my archers, like I said. By the third turn, I pushed combat on the right side. I also pushed a few models up onto that large terrain piece. Originally, I think I committed about 8 to 10 guys, and he committed a Isildur up there. And I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be over pretty quick. I'll just maybe try and feed a Isildur 2 guys a turn and see if I can't whittle away some of his might, see if I can't just keep him pinned down up there for 2 or 3 turns before he either jumps off or, just chomps right through them. But just something to hold him up while I can push forward in the middle. And see if I can't get him to draw up. Well, he didn't really ever draw up towards the river. It was actually very well played. He made me come to him and kind of hemmed me in, which kind of hurt. But I will say those 8 to 10 guys, I ended up decommitting about 4 of them at one point. So 6 guys held the hill against Isildur and 2 warriors of Numenor for the entire game. Isildur had to burn points of might to win combats and then also to wound in combats because he called 1 heroic combat. And then he said he wasn't really worried about doing heroic movements with just Isildur and a couple guys up there, which makes sense. I agreed with it because having the fight 6, I mean, all he's got to do with 3 dice is throw 1 6 and he's won. But I got really lucky a lot of times. I never wounded him. I never did any damage to him. I would just charge 2 guys in against him or have 2 guys charging against me and then shield with both of them. And so I was throwing either 4 dice of mine to 3 of his if I charged or 4 to 4. And I literally just held Isildur there the entire time. I would say that was probably my luckiest part of the game. If my guys had not done that, he would have been able to flank the backside with his big hero. And I do consider Isildur to be a pretty big hero because of what he can do. And literally wrecked me. As it was, I was able to push again. This time with Maher and the captain, I teamed up together. And I just slowly pushed the left side of his line back. And he had it very well at a good angle. So it was taking a while for me to get in there and actually get the dice. Because again, we had that river, and while it wasn't that big of a deal, it did make it hard to get my guys to move around and match up with him one on one. It took me time to get my banner in a good position so I could get as many fights as possible without leaving it in a position to either get sniped by his archers, which he kept a pretty good line of until the end when he needed the reinforcements, or get trapped in the river by potentially getting ran down by what's his name, Elendil. And To the Death, if you remember, if you don't know this, this is a good learning point. To the Death has victory points for banners. So I had 2 banners of my own to his 1. So my whole point with the captain and Mahur on the left side was to break through the left flank, which he had pinned up against the stairs going up onto that terrain piece there, which was really, really brilliant of him to do because it kept me from being able to get a lot of guys and surround him. So John has been playing for many, many years, just like Robert. So he definitely knows his tactics and strategies. He's done, what is it, Flames of War, I think it is, the reenactment game for World War II. I think so. I can't remember. And then I'm pretty sure he's also done, I don't know if he does them anymore, but I'm pretty damn sure he's done some of the war reenactment stuff too. So he knows plenty about tactics and things. He played it very well. From a tactics standpoint, he probably out-tactics me just because of the fact he used the terrain and where he was at on the board to his advantage. Luckily enough for me, though, the thing that was the biggest turnaround, or the biggest, not turnaround, but biggest feather in my cap that allowed me to win is just the sheer numbers. Because of the fact I had more than a dozen guys than he did when it came to total numbers. And then in this game, my dice rolled pretty darn hot. I mean, I tied Elendil up the entire game just by putting, Elendil gets his free heroic combat every turn, and I would just put 5 guys against him every turn. So the max he could kill was 4. There was a turn where he actually got into Lurtz, and I was worried he was going to kill Lurtz. Thankfully for me, I was able to peel Lurtz away with by putting guys onto Elendil and pulling that off and having priority myself, so I could call the matchups how I wanted for the combats. Moving on. Good game. He ended up breaking me on the last turn with 2 combats from Elendil and Loder. By the time the game ended, getting down to a quarter, he needed less than 12 guys. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he was at like 42 guys or something like that, because it was like 12 and a half would have put him at quartered. So let me do the math real quick. No way. It says 50. Maybe he had 50. I don't really know. I can't remember. Maybe he had 50. Maybe he did. I didn't think he had that many, but my heroes did a lot of work. Let's just put it that way. My heroes did a lot of work, and then the banner re-rolls for most of the combats where I was outnumbered, like 1 versus 2 of his because of his shield and spear wall. I would just shield and use the banner to hopefully win. And then when I started doubling dice down on the flanks, getting extra guys in there, I'd go attacks, hard on attacks. And that's how I did it. I'd lose 1 or 2 guys a turn, but pick off 3 or 4 on each of the flanks. And just there are about 3 or 4 open flanks. Well, about 5 or 6 different flanks on the board. So on average per turn, I was killing anywhere from 6 to 7 guys. So final score, I quartered him to end the game. We both were broken, so we both got broken points, 3 for each of us. He actually wounded my enemy leader. I'm sorry, he wounded my leader because Lurtz took 2 wounds, and I faded out of one of them. So I was able to keep he took 3 wounds, so I was able to fade out of one of them. Then I just ran him away. So he got 1 VP for that. So at this point, if you're keeping track, it's 4-3 to him. But then I decimated his force by quartering him, which gave me 2 VPs. So it's 5-4. Then I had a banner and he did not. That's 7-4. And then we both were painted, so that's 8-4. So I go from getting my butt majorly kicked with like a 9-3 loss to 2 minor wins. Not bad. I was impressed with it. I'd only played 1 game with the list, and that was against Angmar, I think I've said already. So I was impressed by how they played. I wish I played on a couple different boards, maybe something that was a little more open to allow me to use my movement a little bit better. Playing a carbon copy of my list in round 2 was just, who would have freaking guessed it? What are the odds with 20 people there? I mean, there were 4 Isengard lists there, 3 of them Legendary Legions, from what I heard. Mine and Joe's being, 2 of them, and then the third one was actually the Assault on Helm's Deep. I don't know what the 4th Isengard player was doing. I didn't see that list. So, yeah, I mean, it was a fun event. I really enjoyed it. I was able to score perfectly in the middle, 10 out of 20. I was actually hoping I would get the Average Joe award, which is pretty cool. It's just an Average Joe coffee mug from the old Dodgeball movie. And I might actually look into seeing if I can't find one of those on eBay or Craigslist or something like that, or maybe just a little like hobby shop or something like that around where I live in North Carolina, because that would actually make a really good. I thought it made a really good prize. Someone who comes in, they do okay, but not really great. They're not near the top. They're not near the bottom. So they're the average Joe. And Robert did it by averaging out all the victory points for the event, and then whoever's victory point was, averaged right on top of it. So the average victory point, I think, was 17.3, I believe you said. And then the gentleman who won got 17 victory points. He actually placed one below me at 11th. So I had 21. Excuse me. 21. Good Lord, I'm burping up dinner. I'm sorry. I had 21 total victory points. And I would just say it was fun. It was a good time. I really enjoyed it. Congratulations to our average Joe. That I thought was hilarious. Let me see if I can't find it. Trying to look at it. There it is. I saw it. It was Brant Edmonston. I'm sorry, Brant. I probably just butchered your name. But congrats for being the average Joe. I thought that was a cool prize. He might be sitting there going, yeah, fuck you, dude. Being average sucks. But I thought it was cool. I did actually get to play one game next to him. He was playing Rivendell, I believe it was. So his army looked really cool because I know he had Elrond and I don't know who else. I was just kind of listening a little bit while John and I were playing in that last round. But yeah, that sums up of Wolves and Shattered Shields, another event in the book. I actually got to take home Best Sportsman too. I don't know what crazy guys out there voted me for Best Sportsman because I'm freaking crazy. But hey, huge kudos for that. I really appreciate it. I think sportsmanship is the most important part of the game. So to actually get recognized as being the best sportsman, again, I don't know how, I don't know why, but I appreciate that to whoever voted for me. Thank you. I'm glad I made a positive impression on you in the game. That's all I'm here for as an ambassador of the game. That's what we all are as ambassadors of the game, is to make good impressions and leave folks willing to come back and play some more. So that was probably my favorite award I've ever won. I mean, I've got a few first place trophies, some third places, and other things on my shelves. But honestly, I think that was probably the best thing to ever win in an event is Best Sportsman. I mean, that means you just went in there and you never let anybody see any negative emotion or anything from you. You didn't try and swindle people or power game or whatever the heck you want to call it to give people a bad impression. So thanks, guys, for those who voted for me. Now I'm going to have to try and get that again at an event. So we'll see. I probably won't, but it was cool to get that. So stay tuned, guys, for some more MESBG content coming up in the future. And then also stay tuned next week on the 30th. I haven't decided yet, but 30th is a Sunday, and I'm doing trivia. And it's going to be Tolkien trivia based off of the three Lord of the Rings movies, the Two Towers, the Fellowship, and the Return of the King. I know, I listed them out of order. Shoot me. I'm debating on whether or not I want to live stream that. If I do, I will definitely put it out there so everybody knows. I might not just for this first one because of the fact that I'm not really sure how it's going to go. There's going to be 5 of us all talking at the same time and doing questions and answering for Lord of the Rings. So, well, I'll be asking, 4 of them will be answering. So we'll see how that goes. But until next time, Tolkien Fanatics, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Help me beat those damn YouTube analytics. check out my Patreon. I've got some content coming up out there. Help me out giving you better content in the future. And I will see you next time on a Tolkien Fanatics adventure. Take care.